Faster than writing to a letter forum, more thoughtful than angry clickbait, able to discuss the world's first superhero in comics, film, TV, and more. It's the Supermaniacs. I am Fatheree. I'm joined today by Mike. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. My two tiny sons here. I found my old DC Superman diecast. They made these little diecast figures. For some reason Marvel was doing them as well. I had a Spider-Man one somewhere too. When I first played D&D, the Superman was my fighter mini.
Oh, nice.
He was like twice the size of the others, but he was pretty small still. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, scaling can make action figures fun too when you're like crossing different lines together.
Yeah, it's a real fun time. And
Um,
so yeah, he was my faithful companion for all. I thought I lost him, but I found him randomly in one of my drawers, and I was like, oh, I'm happy I didn't lose you, because I was bummed out because I would wanted to try to keep using him that way for other random shit. But I'm happy. He's a little scuffed up, but he's like a new 52 one, as you can see, because he doesn't have the
yeah,
trunks.
yeah. I have a new 52 Superman figure because I bought like the pack that came with the Jim Lee Batman,
Oh, the
Wonder
seven
Woman,
one.
and it was only like the big three. It was like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay. I have the Superman from that, and I have a Batman they made for the Greg Capullo
Yeah,
Batman, the new 52 one. So I have them. They're on the shelf somewhere. They're not in the view of what I'm seeing here. I think they're above. But I've had that figure for years. Yeah, it's on the shelf just above the one that you can see. Actually, those figures are actually really cool looking, but they're like real tough to do anything with when it comes to posing.
I haven't taken it out of the box yet, but I also have this really cool Flesher animated
Yeah,
style Superman that I just got recently, thanks to you. So thank
yeah.
you so much for the awesome birthday gift.
So
Uh,
fun fact, I'm gonna tell you something real funny. You remember that battle damaged one I showed you?
yeah,
That originally was your original present, but Amazon was like, "What about this one?" And then I went, "That one's much better." And then when I had both of them in my hands, I stared at them and I'm like, I could technically just give them the other.
what I love about this dude though is like the face, like they did such a good job recreating that squinty eye look
It's a
from
gorgeous
the
figure.
Flesher series. Yeah, but like it's like if I just like saw that face by itself without the suit, I'd be like, oh, that looks like the Flesher cartoon Superman. So
I was very happy with it. Because yeah, I got it in, and I was worried at first because it's McFarlane ones are hit or miss when it comes to Superman stuff because he's had some weird issues with like some of the body types for a lot of them, but that one actually I thought came out pretty well.
yeah, no, I really like it, and that's one of my favorite Superman looks. Is that classic Flesher, the black triangle, which is look so popular that it still shows up in a lot of stuff like
Yeah,
these days.
it's it was in Superman and Lois. There's
Yeah,
the DC Superman in the Fortnite, the second version of the suit has it. And you can buy shirts of it on the DC store right now. In fact, the DC store has these. This is the thing I was caught off guard because I decided to look it over because of Superman Day. There are Superman shirts for almost like every like logo of some kind. There's an electric one. There's an electric Superman one. You can buy it in blue or red. There's that
I
Fleischer
have
one.
those.
There's a Superman the movie one from the original one. Of course, the current one, a Kingdom Come one, and you can buy a lot of them in different
Hmm.
colors. And I was just like, fuck, I kind of want a lot, but I held off because they're very expensive, all things considered, because they're like 26 or so each, which is pretty normal nowadays. But it's like, well, I would have to like really want those shirts at the moment because I had like a $200 cart because I was just like, I want that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. And by the time
I
I was done, I was like, I need to fucking stop before I do something stupid.
It's easy to load up the shopping cart on the DC store. But speaking of Superman Day, which just happened over the weekend, a couple days ago on April 18th, there were a couple of announcements for Superman stuff and Supergirl stuff. But like the one that kind of caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, okay, that is maybe cool. I don't know. I have to wait and see it. but there's gonna be some Supergirl Blondie promotion for the Superman movie. But the band Blondie, was it "Call Me"? Is that the song that was in the first trailer?
Yeah, it's a really good song. I didn't know that was happening. Hold on,
Yeah,
it's fucking wild.
it was on the official DC Supergirl social media account. It said Supergirl X Blondie. So more details to come soon. Um,
That's actually kind of fun.
yeah, a collaboration between Blondie and the Supergirl movie has been announced.
That's just how much James Gunn loves music. He's like, I get to make Blondie do promotion for my Supergirl movie that's
Yeah.
coming out. That's fucking awesome. Like, let's do that shit because that dude loves music. He probably got giddy at the idea pretty quickly.
Well, I was just showing some people Highlander the other day as part of my birthday celebration. We were watching a lot of movies from 1986, and Mike came over to the house and watched a few with us. Um, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Labyrinth. But the big one on the music side of things that I showed people was Highlander because Queen did so many songs for that movie and like at least one original song they wrote specifically for the movie, but had like several other songs on the
Yeah,
soundtrack. And
it's
it's
one
like,
of my favorite soundtracks because Queen, whenever they did a soundtrack for a movie, they went all
mhm.
in every
Like the
time because
Flash
it's that
Gordon one.
and Flash Gordon. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Those are both like these are fucking crazy, but it's one of the reasons those movies hold up the way they do because of these really wicked fucking soundtracks, which is why the Highlander remake has me curious.
Yeah, is like Bad Bunny gonna do the soundtrack for for the new? What's like the modern music that's gonna be in the new one?
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna get Junkie XXL or whatever again. I
Yeah.
don't like that guy's soundtracks to be honest. That
Well,
guy, every time he's on one, I'm like, you make the most generic fucking shit.
the crazy thing about the Supergirl movie, speaking of music, is that they've changed the composer three times. They're on like the third composer with that movie. It was gonna be Junkie XL, and then they changed to someone else.
I'm actually fine with that because that guy, anytime that guy's on a movie, I'm like, none of this shit is memorable. When you did the Godzilla ones, I was like, none of this is memorable. When he did Man of Steel, I'm like, the only one that's memorable, I think, is because it's like a collaboration, which is Wonder Woman's like crazy ass theme. But he's the one who has like all the guitars in it compared to everybody else's version of it. And
Yeah.
and this little Batman theme, I'm like, I couldn't tell you what his Batman theme sounded like.
uh, I guess Claudia Sarne is going to be the composer of Supergirl now. Um,
I'm
she's
really
got a
hopeful for it.
but the Blondie thing, I'm like, is Blondie going to make like a new song for the movie? Like, I don't know how likely that would be. The
That
band
would
is
be
from
interesting.
the '70s, so like,
Well,
I don't know. Was the
we've been
last time
caught
they
off
wrote
guard
something
before.
original?
Yeah, we've been caught off guard before because didn't
Mm.
Evanescence write a song for that Devil May Cry anime or something like that?
I did not know about that.
Yeah,
But
Evanescence came back and wrote an
oh,
original song for the Devil May Cry Netflix show, if I recall,
huh. I
which is
remember.
wild.
Was that any good? The Devil May Cry show?
It depends on who you ask because the thing is, it's a show that doesn't seem to understand its source material correctly, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
well,
But at the same
neither did the
time,
last anime
is
they
willing to
did.
do a lot of fun things with it because it's a weird immigration story is what they did with it.
Hmm.
It's very strange. I don't know. Like it depending on who you ask, it's either the worst thing they've ever seen or I like that. I'm like in the middle. I'm like that was weird, but it was kind of okay. My biggest issue is that the voice actor for Dante is the voice actor for Nero in Devil May Cry 4 and 5, and it's just like, well, I can't separate because you're just doing Nero's voice, so I
Right.
can't separate the two in my brain, and I just can't deal with it.
That is an odd choice. Like, I'm glad that that guy got work, but at the same time, like, that's very confusing.
Well, the original Dante was canceled because he went like full anti-vax or right wing or some shit. He did something stupid, and everybody was like, "I don't want to deal with you anymore."
Oh, okay. Well, I
It's the
thought
reason he's not Ken in Street Fighter 6 as well because he it was Ken. He had been doing Ken in Street Fighter 4 onwards until that game came out.
a lot of voice actors. Is he the same guy who does Beast Boy on Teen Titans? Because
No,
that guy
but
did the same thing.
that guy did the same thing. Um, what's her name? The one who does Raven as well. What is her name? Ah, shit. She's super fucking famous too in the voice acting world. I don't know why her voice is,
Is
or her
it
name is
Tara Strong? Is it
Tara
Tara
Strong.
Strong? Yeah,
She's
Tara
been
Strong is
dangerously close to getting fully canceled so often.
she's fucking batshit insane, Tara
She
Strong.
is. And I
Like,
think that's the reason she's never been canceled is because everyone just knows she's batshit insane
yeah.
and just goes, well, she's batshit insane, but she does like all the voices, like all of them. Like if you need a young person's voice, she's like the first fucking person you call. She's like Timmy and like young Ben 10 and all these different people. But then she'll post some like weird Ben 10 fan art that like implies that the cousins are dating, and they're just like, "Isn't this fun?" And everyone's like, "Tara, I need you to fucking calm down. You're freaking people out." And then she'll turn around and do like this really cheery like TikTok or something, and then you're like, "Okay, she's just kind of bipolar." But
Um,
that Beast Boy one was that was fucked. He's like, "They canceled me because of my illness." No, they canceled you because you tried to use Beast Boy to sell supplements,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
terrible
That was
supplements.
disappointing.
Very disappointing. It's just him because he's also Michelangelo in the 2012 Ninja Turtles, and he's really good in that too.
Hmm. And a weird thing in the voice actor community, I guess. Uh,
Yep.
but I guess we should say the main topic that we're here to discuss today is the original origin story, the first appearance ever of Supergirl, the debut of Kara Zor-El.
The Supergirl from Krypton, as the story calls it.
Yeah. But she was on the cover. You know, this is also the same comic book that introduced Metallo in a different story.
I love it because she's this big bald thing on the cover, and then the very bottom left corner is like, oh, by the way, Superman meets Metallo, and you're like, both of these characters have endured since this came out, which was how long ago is I had it in front of me. Sorry, I accidentally moved away from it.
That would have been
It
a
was
good thing to know off the top of my head.
1959. It was 1959. In
Yeah.
fact, it'll be it says it was May, so next month is going to be the anniversary of this issue.
Yeah, and the Supergirl story in it was written by Otto Binder with art by Howard Sherman. Um, but just to give credit where credit's due, Henry Boltinoff does the art and the writing for the Metallo story. So he's the creator of Metallo in the same issue that Otto Binder created Supergirl.
Yeah, it's wild. Crit Swan does the cover for this one. It's pretty because that man drew Superman for ever. I don't think he ever stopped and type of thing. Because a lot of people don't know a lot of comics back in the day were more chunks of stories. They still kind of are, depending on what you read, where they'll do like a backup story. But this actually had 3 stories inside of it because at the time, comic writers weren't writing long, intense storylines. They were mostly designed to be single issues. The backup stories were the ones that actually were tended to be continuing adventures more often than not. But even then, they were still very single issue, like because there's a storyline in the middle of this of using Kongorilla, and I only knew a little bit about the guy because he showed up in the Justice League time frame when Cry for Justice happened, and then right
Yeah.
after that, just before the New 52. And I had no idea who he was up until that point. And then I was like, oh, and then I read one of these, and I was like, oh, that's right. He's an old school character, which is why he's a weird fucking character. And I'm not used to seeing because the way they draw him, Kongorilla in this comic is he looks like a guy in a gorilla outfit instead of a gorilla,
Yeah,
like the way everybody else does.
the face is way too human looking.
Yeah, he looks like a Bigfoot. He looks like a gold Bigfoot is more what he looks like, not an actual gorilla. And everyone's like, that ape. I'm like, that's fucking Bigfoot. You need to run.
But you know,
But
that's back in the days when people were like, you know what's really gonna sell comics? Apes. Let's just
yeah,
go ape shit and put apes in everything.
I fucking love this monkey. Yeah, and so yeah, and then a guy named Congo Bill and shit, and you're just like, okay, cool.
I know what you're talking about though in the Justice League comics that James Robinson wrote that it kind of reintroduced Congarella because Congarella was dead in that story. He was like resurrected in that
Yeah,
Justice League story arc.
I think he came back after Blackest Night, I think was the
Yeah,
idea.
he
And
was the
so he was
first
part
one.
of the Justice League just
Mhm.
before the New 52 started.
That was that really cool era when Superman was off doing new Krypton stuff. So instead, you had Mon-El step up, and he was the Superman of Earth, and he was the Superman on the Justice League. And at that same time, Dick Grayson was Batman because it was during Batman R.I.P. when Bruce Wayne was thought to be dead. He was just lost in time. But during that time, Dick Grayson had to assume the role of Batman, and he actually, anytime Dick Grayson is on a team, he automatically becomes leader of that team. That's just like a DC Comics rule. But it was cool to have like Dick Grayson leading the Justice League and with like a Mon-El Superman, and then I think Donna Troy was being Wonder Woman at the time. But then you had the recently resurrected Hal Jordan and Barry Allen were still there. That was kind of an interesting time for the Justice League.
Yeah, the Justice League was wild. It consisted of, I think, one of the most unique Justice League rosters I've ever seen, and Congarilla being one of them was fucking
Yeah.
an out there decision. And then yeah, the New 52 started literally right after that Justice League was super short lived. I was really
Yeah.
bummed because I'm like, this is the most unique Justice League I've ever seen. And then they're like, and then we never saw them again like that. I'm like, well, fuck.
I was so on board that version of the Justice League, but I think so many people never gave it a shot because the cry for justice stuff got so bad with some of
Cry for
the
Justice fucked over everyone.
yeah.
And I've told everyone again and again, the Green Arrow family was disbanded from Cry for Justice until the Joshua Williamson run from like not even 2-3 years ago. That's a huge gap in between.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking wild to me that ever happened. It's like,
But
okay, that's like, if anything, I will thank Josh Williamson forever for bringing that family back together. Because fuck Cry for Justice, that story sucks.
this is the first mention of the super family. Like they actually say super family in Action Comics 252 in 1959. I don't know if Bat Family had been tossed around yet in 59, but I think that's pretty cool that super family has been in the the vocabulary that long.
Well, I'm trying to remember when Robin came around because it was
Immediately.
also around this.
I
It was
I
it
think
was like 1940 or something,
I
right?
think Robin's in Batman #1. I think it was his first appearance. It was, or no, that's the Joker. It was like that same year though. I think it was in 19. It was in 1940.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's 1940. He was in Detective Comics number 38 was the first time he appeared. So the Bat Family kind of was a thing, but I don't know if they were already calling it that either. Because I didn't read a lot of Batman, even Golden Age stuff. I never I read Batman, but I read him more in passing compared to other things.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, but it makes sense that they would be like, well, now that we have a super family, because they couldn't have a super family prior to this point. He's the last son of fucking Krypton.
it's like you have Superman and you have Superboy, and they're the same dude.
Yeah, and I don't think Crypto was really. No, Crypto was around, but he wasn't a person, and so people didn't really consider him because it's the old thing where it's like, well, he's just a dog. He's not
Yeah.
really the family part of the family per se, type of thing. And then I also forgot the implication of when they're like, well, I was Super Baby, and I'm like, oh, that's right. There was a time frame where there were stories about Super Baby, and it was all about the Kents trying to keep people from discovering that their superpowered baby had superpowers. If you've ever seen those covers, they're hilarious because it's stuff like it's like because Jonathan and Martha are constantly like doing different jobs in it instead of just being farmers. And one of them, they're like
Right.
in charge of a restaurant or something. Like, oh my god, the super baby is fucking throwing plates around. We got to stop them before they find out that super baby's our son or whatever. And you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
So that's a good point. Silver Age, Jonathan and Martha, yeah, they were not farmers most of the time. They were doing, they had like a general store in like the center of town of Smallville that was popular for a long time. But yeah, there were a lot of stories of them doing shit other than working on the farm.
Yeah, and I'll mention one thing about them at the end of the story, which explains why the end of the story does what the end of the story does compared to modern versions of what they've done with Supergirl since. But
Well,
but I love this cover though a lot because he's just like, it must be an illusion. And she's like, look again, Superman, it's me, Supergirl, and have all your powers. And immediately, the first thing you notice about her is that, unlike current Supergirl stuff, and by that I mean like the past 30 years or something, she has a blue skirt. Hers is one long like dress, I guess, with a belt. I
Yeah,
think is the implication of that.
which they've done her in like all blue a few times since this, but yeah, it definitely looks better with the red skirt to break up the colors a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's probably why the designers later on decided to make that change, because I like it fine, but yeah, even this version of Kara eventually ended up with the
Uh,
red skirt.
but when you read this little like 8-page story, it's very clear the intent seems to be like, oh, they wanted to create a girl Superboy to have just like more of these stories to throw into Action Comics or eventually they. I don't know when Adventure Comics started, but they would run a lot of Superboy stories and Adventure Comics, which was like another anthology. It would be like a bunch of different stories in one issue.
It was also an easy way of shaking things up without making things weird, if that makes sense, because it was a lot of like, well, we can't just add another love interest, or we can't just add another like character for Jimmy or some shit. Which is like, we need something that like can shake things up, appeals to a different demographic, and like shakes up Superman's life more than just another human person type of thing. And I think Supergirl from Krypton is such a great, unique way of doing it. And the fact that she's so differently drawn from him, unlike because most people, whenever they would draw, like if this comic didn't exist and you walked up to somebody and said, draw Superman's cousin based on what Superman looks like, they would look a lot like the Supergirl from the Flash movie. She has black hair,
Hmm.
maybe it's short, maybe it's long, who knows. Either way, it would have been black type of thing. But somebody and there's had the bright idea of to just be like, I want her to be blonde. I'm not gonna like. I want her to look completely different from him, which I think is a really fun idea, because you don't have to. It makes it much more interesting that she doesn't just look like a carbon copy of him as a woman, if that makes sense. Because a lot of things would do that, where they'd be like, "This is Batwoman" or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
just like a sexy Bruce Wayne kind of thing.
But like that was the original Batwoman and Batgirl. They were like, "Hey, we're just like Batman and Robin, except ladies."
Exactly,
That's
and so I think it was just a really good idea.
that's why I always say like I think it's best when they lean into the things that make Kara and Clark different. Like a lot of times, like over the decades, she's been characterized as a more similar to Superman, just kind of like this wholesome do-gooder type character. And then there's a lot of other writers who try to write her a little bit, edgier. And I gotta say, like I like making her different from Clark because they have the same power set, they have the same origin story. So they have the same logo. Like that's an important thing for a superhero, but you have like a symbol or a logo. Like they have the
Yeah,
same one of those. So yeah, you need to have their differences be more obvious. So
I also like that it goes out of its way to explain why she does have an outfit that's just like his, instead of just landing wearing
yeah.
some sort of Kryptonian garb type of thing.
So in the 1950s, the comic book fandom had reached the point that like writing letters had become enough of a thing that this you can see these stories are trying to appeal to the audience or like cater to the audience in very specific ways. Like we know people are going to nitpick the things that don't make sense, so let's be sure to explain a lot of things that like maybe in the 30s we just would have just like thrown out there without dotting the i's and crossing the
Yeah, I don't know if
t's.
the copy that you had also had the letters where it is like that, where there's like literally the first letter is like, "What if Superman was born on Krypton? How come it can kill him?" Is like basically the very first question. Why is kryptonite killable? And then motherfucker's just like, "Look, dude, I'm gonna have to explain to you."
I didn't see the letter forums in this, but that's interesting. I knew that would be in there though. But yeah, it's like 1959. Like it already became a thing. Superman was only 21 years old, and people were already writing letters about like,
Oh,
why doesn't this make sense?
check out this part. The February issue of Action Comics shows Superman using a TV in outer space. How is it possible if there's no atmosphere in outer space for TV waves to go through? It's like the sort of thing you would see on a Reddit forum, being
Yeah.
like, "How does this work?" That's not
No,
how space works.
the best part of that is that the TV signals actually would transmit into space.
Yeah, this is
So
the answer. You'd better brush up on your physics, Eddie. TV waves can function even in a vacuum, Ed, which is the editor.
nice. So yeah, that's
That's
like,
fucking hilarious.
but it's like the earliest form of internet comments. It's like this is like the prehistoric version of like internet commenting.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold mines on here. They're like this one's, for instance, says whether Superman will always stay single or whether he'll ever get married. I'm dying of curiosity. Like, there's just so many like they're the exact sort of things that you would see in a forum, but somebody had to write it. Somebody had to put it in an envelope, stamp it, and then make sure to give it to a post worker or something. Like all of this is the reason why it was harder to be a troll type of thing, is because that's a lot of work for a joke you may never even see in your comic at the end of the day, which is wild.
Kind of makes me wish we still lived in those times, to be honest. But
yeah, because you can still send these letters, but they're like all through email now, and they'll still sort of answer them, but a lot of them are more like cherry picked. Where back then they didn't give a fuck. They're like, if anybody writes to us, we'll probably ask them about it.
yeah, I mean,
As long as it's not explicit filled.
today, like, but we can like go onto social media. Like, we can go to like Joshua Williamson's Instagram account, and I assume he's on Instagram, and like ask him questions, and like there's other ways to like interact these days that they didn't have back then.
And a lot of writers and artists will react to you. Like Scott Snyder is constantly reacting to absolute Batman theories, and so it's like, yeah, you can just message any of them and you could probably get an answer for that from the actual writer directly, instead of having to write to an editor and hope that the editor doesn't butcher your fucking question.
That's the cool thing about comics. It's like an industry that not a lot of people are going to get rich in, but the advantage of that is that all the people that work in that industry really fucking give a shit about comics and are passionate about it and love to talk about it. So
yeah, they do it for the love of the game, basically, which is why they're so, like, at least the ones that turn out great, because they're not really like the editorial lets them kind of do what they would need to, as long as it matches what they need. And those are the ones that come out great. It's the reason why I say Marvel's in a giant rut, because their editorial is much more tighter in a way that is very constricting. Where DC's willing to look at something and be like, "Hey, we're bringing in Beppo the Super Monkey," and you're just like, "Really? Like, yeah, read the new Superman Unlimited. Beppo the Super Monkey's back." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" What if you read Marvel and they were like, "We're going to bring back the Spider-Mobile"? Like, well, it better be edgy or some shit. And you're just like, "No, I don't fucking care about that." It's like, yeah, but what if Beppo the Super Monkey first had a conversation with Bibbo and they both can't stop saying each other's name? I'm like, done, sold.
But yeah, we're in a bit of a DC renaissance right now. Everyone seems to be in agreement that like all the momentum is on the DC side of things in the comic world.
100%.
I think that might ease. Well, I don't know. We'll see with the new Spider-Man movie and the new Avengers movie. I think Marvel's going to get a lot of attention this year, but
it's not so much the attention. It's just that they're not willing to do new things, and then when they did new things, they let it die too early. Like it's one thing to do the absolute universe. It's another thing if the absolute universe just ended in like 2 years, because that's what the Ultimate Universe happened. Mm-hmm. They're like, we have a whole thing. It's very exciting. Everything's different. By the way, it ends in like 2 years, and we're not doing anything with it ever again. You're like, what the fuck was the point of all this? It's a whole thing, but I digress. But yes, the 1950s was a strange time for everything, and this 8-page story does a lot pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah, so let's talk our way through it. I don't have any other visuals other than the cover, but the first page is it basically kind of recreates that image with Supergirl, just like a little like preview splash page, but like Supergirl emerging from the rocket, but Superman using the expression "great guns." I think it's 3 or 4 times in this comic. He says "great guns."
I want to start using like slang from these old comics because they're so fucking funny to me.
What in the name of Rao?
Yeah, great guns, great
Or
Caesar's
Great
ghosts,
Scott. He would
great
say Great
Scott.
Scott a lot.
The Great Scott. I always forget that Great Scott is like was very much a Superman tagline before it was Doc Brown's. But it makes sense because Doc Brown grew up in the 1950s. So and I bet you that
Hmm.
motherfucker read Superman.
You know
It's
what?
probably not canon to it, but I guarantee you he did.
Now that they do all of these DC Marvel crossovers again, I need to see Superman and Cyclops of the X-Men team up and like they take down some enemy with like Cyclops uses his optic blast and Superman uses his heat vision and they like team up and you just have like four eyes and red fire coming at you and after they demolish whatever they were attacking, Superman just looks over at Cyclops and says, "Great, Scott."
I would love that. No notes.
But yeah, the story it begins with like Superman is just chilling in the office one day. I love this like old Silver Age mentality of just sometimes just like shit just happens. It just like sparks the stories very spontaneously. But
Yeah, he's
one
not doing
day,
anything insane. He's just fucking writing a paper.
one day in Metropolis, where Clark Kent, who is secretly Superman, for those of you who haven't read any of these other comics, works as a reporter for the Daily Planet, and his super hearing picks up a rocket crash and his super speed brain works so fast that he hears a noise, he looks through the wall with his x-ray vision, he sees a rocket, like the nose of a rocket making impact with the ground of Earth, and in his super speed he's so fast that he can think to himself, luckily nobody else is in the office at the moment, but have I time to reach the rocket? It'll smash in seconds. And he changes costume and flies over there. I guess he doesn't. I guess the rocket does get beat up before he gets over it. But I'm thinking like, man, just like from the rocket making contact with the ground, he has enough time to hear it, see it, change clothes, and fly over there like almost immediately.
Yeah, he's like, I only have seconds, and he gets there in his full outfit. Like if it was me and I had only seconds, I would have shown up, and my shirt would have still been on, and like my glasses probably would have still been on. I'd be like, Clark, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't what. Like it was just he gets there, and yeah, this is when he mentions the super baby thing because the rocket like smash lands, and it's like a big
Mhm.
smash. Like the whole front end is just caved in. And he's like, "Well, I that happened to me, but I was super baby years ago." And I'm like, "It's like okay." It's like that's why I survived. But anybody else is fucked. Is basically it's basically what he says. If there's a human, if the human being I saw inside of this is human, they are super dead.
And
And
then
so it's just like that's just so funny.
uh, when she stands up from the wreckage, though, she's like in like the full-on Supergirl fit, and and says, "Don't worry, Superman, I'm alive without a scratch." And then we get a Great Scott, so we get great guns and a Great Scott.
Yeah, and I like how she just jumps up in this whole outfit and just goes, "I'm alive." He's like, "Jesus," and I know like the page is like it's a short comic, so everything moves quickly. But I keep reacting to it in ways that will make it sound really fucking funny because it's more just like it seems more like Mark or not Mark. It seems more like Clark's reacting super fast and stuff. So it actually thinks it makes things kind of funny.
Yeah,
Um,
like as soon as she says that she's from Krypton, his immediate words are, "That's impossible."
he's like, yeah, he's like, you weren't even born. What's wrong with you? Why would you lie to me like this?
That is true because she is a child. She is a teenager when she
Yeah, because
arrives.
he's like 30s something. I don't
Yeah,
remember what Super. I think canonically Superman's supposed to be in his 30s
yeah.
in like original stuff.
I think what they told like the writers and artists at the time with Batman is that like he's always 35. So I guess like with Superman it's probably the same thing. Like he's always 35. Like always make
Yeah,
him always write him and draw him to look like he's 35.
yeah, because Superman, the movie Superman starts. He doesn't start being Superman until he's 30. That's one of the rare things. A superhero who's like, at least not rare. It's rare nowadays that a superhero starts in his like 30s. Because most things are like, well, he started his superhero career at like 12 or something, which technically Superman did because he was a super baby.
Yeah, so I think Gunn's Superman would have started when he was 27 because he's been Superman for 3 years when the movie begins, but it's
Oh,
3 decades after he arrived.
Well, I don't. Yeah, because it's 3 decades after he arrives, and then three. Yeah, so he's like 30. No, he'd be like 33 then,
No,
wouldn't
he'd
he?
be no, because he started being Superman at 27.
Did it say that was at
Yeah,
27?
yeah, because it was 3 decades ago he arrived, and then 3 years ago he started being Superman.
Yeah, but if it's 3 decades, that would make him 30.
Yeah, but he was 27 when he started his career, and then he was 30 during the time. Because in the movie he's already had a career for 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. You might be right on that one. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But
Sorry, this is the problem with these timelines are crazy. But yes, but as Supergirl mentions, like you're baffled. Let me tell you the story of like why, like where I came from, because Superman like immediately has the thought process that a normal person would have, as well as an internet comment person, which
yeah,
would be like, "Why are you wearing a costume like mine? How do you know that my name is Superman? How do you speak like?" He says Earth language, which is basically him just saying English, and he's like, well, "How do you like? Why? Like that doesn't you just show up, and I'm just supposed to be like cool with that."
hmm
And then she goes, and honestly, I was surprised because it's been so long since I've read this that her origin is just what Tom is basically Tom King's, except
I
less dramatic.
yeah, I was shocked at how similar it was, and I'm like, wow, like I think that they might pull a lot from this, even more from this than Tom King did in the movie. Uh, but yeah, but before we go into the flashback, I'll let you describe the flashback stuff. But it is funny to me the way that you're framing this as, they have to go into her explanation and her backstory immediately, not only to explain it to Superman, but also the comic reader. So I'm just picturing like the shitty fans in 1959 who love to bitch and complain about every little thing they can find in any comic. Just looking at this, like immediately they see the cover and they're like, "What? A girl Superman? That doesn't make sense."
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. They were like a woman with
but
powers, a woman, and they just going back to the woman part. But it's
that
just one of
probably
those things
that's
that's
probably like
just
a good way to get someone to like pick up the comic and buy it though. Like I gotta see this dumb shit in action. Like how did they actually write
yeah.
a and then like
Maybe she's a
I'm from
fake or whatever
yeah.
type of thing.
And she says she's from Krypton, and just I can imagine being like the kid reading this in 1959 and being like, "That's impossible! Only Superman survived Krypton." And then like the next line of dialogue is literally saying that.
Yeah, it's really funny because it's all like that. And so her backstory in this comic is that when Krypton explodes, a large chunk of the planet. They don't give it a name, by the way. Just a large
Interesting.
chunk of it.
Yeah, no
A large
name.
chunk is flung away from space. Um, and immediately they were like, "Well, among them was my father, the scientist Zor-El." And Zor-El instantly explains everything. He's like, "Well, fortunately, somehow a giant bubble of air came along with the chunk, which is stupid as hell." But instead of being like a dome thing he invented, he's like, "It's just air. We have air, I guess. Air can travel with meteors," is basically what his explanation is. And he's like, "Also, this food machine is still working, so we can stay alive indefinitely." It's the quickest explanation for like it immediately like shoos away the other comic readers as well, being like, "Wait, how can they breathe?" He's like, "There's air here, and we have a machine that gives us food. You shush." And then they're like, they're great, and then all of a sudden they realize at nighttime that kryptonite's been there, but I guess the kryptonite um
Doesn't
doesn't
glow.
glow until it's night.
How is it night though? It's like the chunk of Krypton, like it faces the sun sometimes, then it turns and doesn't face it.
I think that was the implication, is that it's flying through space, so it probably flies past certain stars, and it's just like every now and then the sun hits it. But it's probably like a sun. It's probably not even like a red, like, because this is the thing. I always thought red sun. I always thought the kryptonite only affected them. Well, again, this is like a newer explanation. Only affected them when they were superpowered. I'd always assume that red sun sometimes kept that from happening, but it always varies depending on whoever's writing it. But he comes up with the same idea that the Tom King one has, which is that he's like, or at least that I assume Tom King took from this, which is like, well, I just have giant rolls of sheet metal lead
Yeah.
in my office.
It's
But
like just
essentially,
by coincidence. It's like, well, good thing I have this big roll of sheet metal.
he's like, it's a good thing we're not going to die of lead poisoning. He said to himself. This is before they knew what lead poisoning was, by the way.
Don't bring
And
Mon-El to Argos. Well, it's not Argos. Don't.
to the
Bring
large
Mon
chunk
El
in the
to the
sky.
large chunk in the sky. Yeah.
And then here's the biggest difference between this and other continuities, which is that they had Kara afterwards. She was born on this giant space rock instead of being there for the destruction of Krypton, which is
hmm
so what happens is that she becomes a 15-year-old, and then when she turns 15, then the meteor shower thing that happens as well as in this as well as in the Tom King thing destroys the lead shielding from the kryptonite, which is more tragic in the other one because they're like we worked day and night and we lost thousands getting this thing, or in this comic it's like I just rolled some sheet metal and we were all cool, everybody was good, everything lasted forever, and then they realized, well, we're all fucked because I don't have backup sheets of metal, and I'm guessing he can't patch them either because he doesn't have the extra metal to patch them. And so they decide they're going to send Kara into space, but they don't know where. She's like, so her mom's like, I'm gonna use the super space telescope to find a civilized world, and they happen to stumble upon an Earth broadcast. I think it's just Superman himself, and then they get an Earth broadcast. But they see Superman. It's funny because the image of Superman, they're like, "Who's that flying man?" But it looks like Clark is running in this guy. If you can see if for people who can't see this image, look up this comic. But it looks more like he's running. I think somebody was like originally going to draw him leaving the planet, maybe, or something, or walking somewhere, but instead he's supposed to be flying. So it looks really funny. But then they see an Earth broadcast. They translate it using their learning language program thing.
hmm I think I know what's going on in that panel of him running while flying, I guess. I think that is the pose of like when he's landing, like when he like if he when he leaps over a building in a single bound, like that old school style, like when he's coming down, he kind of looks like that pose.
Yeah, it does look. Yeah, it either looks like he's running or he's doing that because the way
That's
it's
all,
designed, it's just so awkward.
but yeah, that's the only thing I can come up with to excuse it. But as you were saying,
But they immediately find out that he's known as Superman, because this is the funniest thing. He's like, "How do you know my name?" But she doesn't actually know his name. She just knows that he's called Superman. He's like, "This is Superman, and he's from the planet Krypton, and it gave him superpowers." And they're like, "That's great. We'll send you there. It'll give you superpowers too, and you'll get to meet another. You'll get to live essentially with another one of our people, because they're like." It's more like they accidentally are sending her to her cousin, because back then Kryptonians, the symbols weren't based on their Kryptonian thing. Like the S wasn't on like it wasn't a Jor-El or an L crest.
Right. It was something he came up with to be Superboy, and then later Superman. That's like the panel. He's like, I choose this symbol to stand for Superboy now, and then later Superman.
Yeah, because in the original stuff, it's like the circle. It's like this. It's like a sun. It looks like a sun on their chest in the old Silver Age time frame. And the crest thing didn't happen, as far as I know, until Superman the movie decided to do it, which was a fun way of doing it, because you'll notice that, like, Marlon Brando's draw has it, as does his wife, and then the others have their own specific symbol, which was a really smart idea. So they send her into Earth, and she just pretty much knows that everyone there is going to die at some point, which I gotta admit is super heartbreaking, because she does cry. Oh, I forgot to mention, she makes an outfit. Her mom makes an indestructible outfit for Kara before she goes, because she's like, well, here we can make it and cut it, but once you're on Earth, it's going to be indestructible. And so she leaves. She's crying, and he's like, well, that happened to me too when I was, a baby, by my father, Zor-El, who for some reason Clark doesn't immediately understands that Zor-El and Jor are probably like related. Like, she immediately goes, wait, Jor-El, that's my uncle's name, basically, is what she says. And then he says, Great Scott, again. He's like, that means you're my cousin. And then comes one of the most unintentionally funny things that happens in this entire comic, which is that Superman and Kara have this really great moment where he's like, we may be orphans, but we have each other now. I'll take care of you like a big brother, cousin, Kara. She's like, thanks, cousin Superman. By the way, she never calls him Cal. this entire story. She says, "Thanks, cousin Superman." I said, "You mean I'll come and live with you?" And he goes, "Fuck no." Like immediately the next panel, he's like, "No, what are you, stupid?"
Yeah, it's literally, she says, like, she's crying, hugging him. You mean I'll come live with you? And then next panel, no.
No.
That wouldn't work.
You see, I love his explanation, by the way. You see, I've adopted a secret identity on Earth, which might be jeopardized, but I have a great idea for your future life. First, let's see if you can fly. And so his first idea is to make sure her powers are working, which is fine. That's a great idea. But immediately his second idea is now that his powers work, and he goes into the orphanage. You go. Like he gets her some stuff. He gets her an outfit because he's like, you know, but he is saying he's like, well, once you learn your powers, you can, because she wants to just go straight in. She wants to be like, she's the gung ho,
Yeah.
super happy rookie that wants to just go to dive right in. But he's like,
She's
no,
ready to be a hero.
you have these newfound powers. You've had them for like all of 20 minutes, type of thing. I can't have you doing this. And
But
so,
yeah,
good.
the disguise that he comes up with for her, where I guess she has a wig instead of the eyeglasses that he uses to be Clark Kent. He gives her a wig. He's like, okay, when you have brown hair, people will think you're Linda Lee, and when you have blonde hair, they'll know that you're Supergirl.
Yeah, and it has pigtails, which is like the opposite of what her outfit is, or her normal hair is, and everything. Because this is something they kept in the Linda, not the Linda, I almost said Linda Danvers, in the Supergirl movie. Is
Yeah,
that
the
she wears a
movie.
brown. Yes, the Helen Slayer. That was I was like, I couldn't remember her name. I started coming with different fucking secret identities that she has, because she isn't Danvers at this point. She's Linda Lee, and she comes up with this on her own. She's like, I use my super hearing to hear names, and Superman's like, another fucking LL name. I can't fucking get away from it.
Yeah. It's funny to me that in 1959 they were already acknowledging that in stories.
It was pretty funny. I'm glad he didn't mention Lex Luthor. And then yeah, he's like he brings her to Teddy Roosevelt looking guy, who's in charge of the orphanage, and he's like, look, you know, she's lost her family in a disaster that wiped out her whole community, which is true, which he says too. He's like, that's technically true. Like, it's just that he doesn't need to know it's from Krypton. And they're just like, well, she'll stay here, and I'm sure she'll make herself right at home, and maybe be adopted, type of thing. And it's this sweet little moment where she's led into a dirty room by the headmistress, Mrs. Hart, or Miss Hart.
Yeah, she's like, sorry, the only room we have available is this shitty one right here.
Yeah, like
it's got a overcrowded orphanage.
It's got a bent bed frame. The mirror is shattered, and it's just super dirty. And
what, he couldn't take her to like a bougie orphanage? Like, why do you have to drop her off at like the ran down one?
Well, he drops her off in Midvale, which is another thing that made me laugh, because there's Smallville and Metropolis, and then Midvale, which is apparently the middle ground of Metropolis.
Makes sense.
It's the middle point, basically,
Yeah.
which is hilarious again. But which has endured, because it's Midvale's. I think he's the current Supergirl story. It takes place there as well. But she uses her superpowers because she's like, well, you can go away, so I'll do this myself. She doesn't do it angrily. I'm just making it sound like that. But she cleans it up, rebends the thing, and then she X-ray heat visions, because this is back before heat vision was its own separate power. She uses X-ray vision in a way that uses the mirror together, so it could be smooth again, which shouldn't be a thing, but sure.
But it's like they're doing things, I feel like, that they thought would like appeal to girls, to like get girls to read more of these superhero comics. Like, wouldn't it be cool to be a Supergirl, and then look how easy it'd be to clean your room, or you know, like having a
clean up your
mirror
mirrors.
so you can look at your makeup and your hair. Like, that's what girls care about, right? It's just...
Yeah, exactly. And then she's like, I'm gonna make great friends with all these orphans.
Yeah,
and
that
she uses X-ray vision
She
spy on these small
them
children
through the walls. Yeah.
And then she decides, you know, well, it's a nice thought. You know, I'm going to make friends here in an orphanage where these kids won't probably stay here that long. And if they do, that's going to be depressing.
Oh, I was going to say it's also good to know that there's not so much lead paint on those walls, that, you know, the fact that she can see through them means like, okay, maybe these kids aren't going to die of lead poisoning because
that's
it's
true.
1959.
Exactly. And then she decides it's not once it's nighttime, Apparently, she was just wearing her Supergirl outfit under this, which is fine. That's a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
But she flies around. She flies around Midvale in the middle of the night. She's like, "Well, nobody can see me." She finds an old timey film about the history of Superboy in Smallville, and she's like, "Well, that movie's about Superman when he was my age. I'm proud of the fame and honor my cousin has earned all his life." And I love this line a lot too, by the way, because this line so much says like we don't really know what we're gonna do with this, which is this part where she puts, "Will I someday do as good a job in Midvale as Supergirl? What will the future bring for me?" And it's like, oh, you guys had no idea the fucking can of worms you opened with the invention of Supergirl. And then from then on, they're like, hey, from here on, she will be in the regular back ends of Action Comics. The Girl of Steel, a brand new member of our super family, along with Superboy and Superman, which is a weird thing to say. Why would you say the super family along with Superboy and Superman? That's the same person.
Right.
You should have put Crypto's name in there, is all I'm saying. And it just says the end. And then I got curious because I had never read the issue after this. I decided to read part of the issue after this. I'm only going to bring it up because it made me laugh, which is the fact that Supergirl has to keep herself from getting adopted. Like throughout the rest of her time in this orphanage. It's one of the issues that I think is really funny because I don't know when she gets adopted eventually, but it was really funny to just be like, to see the next issue is her being like, a guy being like, well, I might adopt you, and she's like, well, how do I get out of this? And she finds out he's a plumber. He's like, I want someone with a real interesting job. He's like, well, I'm just a plumber, and he kind of runs off crying. And I was like, Car, you didn't need to fucking do that to him. It was rude. Like, you'll never get adopted.
In the Silver Age continuity, I don't know, how did Superman learn of his Kryptonian origins? Like, how was that? Like, I know they didn't have like the John Byrne computer stuff yet.
I actually don't remember because for people, the reason I bring up the reason I was going to say something about the orphanage is that for people who don't remember, the Kents were dead at this point.
Yeah.
And the Silver Age, the Kents being alive around Superman's time is a modern continuity thing. The movie let Martha stay alive, but both of his parents were like super dead.
And even then, like the next time the movies mention Martha, it's like, oh, she died, and Clark has to go clean out the barn.
Yeah, and then Superman returns. It's like, no, she's alive, and there's a whole thing. But the thing is that, yeah, there's even a story where like Jonathan's like flung forward in time or something, and he hangs out with Clark or some shit. And there, like, it's a really nice story, but I don't remember. I don't remember how he finds out about it. It's one of those things that I always forget about because it's not something I read about too often.
The reason why I ask is, like he's surprised to be like, oh, Zor-El is the brother of my father, Jor-El. Like, he hasn't met many Kryptonians at this point in the 1950s in the Silver Age continuity. I think the only ones prior to Kara here would have been the two Kryptonians, Beryl or something like that, and Lilo. They're the ones that Grant Morrison uses as an all-star Superman.
Okay, apparently
the married couple.
Oh, okay, yeah, I looked it up. Apparently, he might have discovered it in 1949. And Superman 61.
I remember. He goes to he goes to Krypton as like a ghost, and he can't like influence anything, but he can observe it, and he watches all of it. Yeah.
Is that what that issue is? I've seen like stills and stuff of that, but I didn't realize that's what that issue was about. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
now.
I'm pretty sure that's that one. So, which I wasn't sure if they had done anything in addition to that in the 50s, but I guess not. So, okay, they're still sticking with that at this point in time.
Well, at that point, the Silver Age wasn't considered separate yet, I think. I think they started. Right. I think they decided to make it separate at some point after that.
It was a 60s thing when they acknowledged, like those early stories are actually on Earth 2 and not Earth 1. But I don't know, 1959, they'd already introduced Barry Allen, so they're still figuring it out. It's like the early days of all of that, though.
Everything, because comics weren't exactly set in stone yet. Nobody really understood it at this point.
And knew
I found it here. Superman Returns to Krypton is the name of it, and he's hypnotized or something. I can't really tell, but he ends up going to Krypton or something. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's the ghost thing, and then he's seeing himself. Oh, yeah, this is the panel I always see it from it, which is that part where he says, "That man, he looks more like me than I do myself," and it's him seeing Jor-El for like the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love this line though. I'm worried though. Junior is past 5 because he does not yet know his engineering. It's like engineering at age 5. He's like, what the fuck? Because Clark is very young at this point, and I guess he's still Kal-El. Kal-El of Krypton,
But
but
the
that's the whole
the
thing.
reason the reason why I think this origin story for Kara in 1959 might be more relevant now is James Gunn was talking in some interview a while back. I remember this coming up, but someone was asking him about like, oh, does Supergirl like know things about Superman's parents? That she like talk to Clark about Jor-El? And he was like, no, 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 no. Like she doesn't know anything about them. She never knew them. Like she's younger than Clark, so she wasn't alive during that time. And I remember hearing that and thinking like,
Interesting.
hold on. Like
Yeah,
she
hold
is
on.
older than him. Like and I was just like, okay, James Gunn, he's like making Creature Commandos and Peacemaker and all this other stuff. He's like, yeah, maybe he was just like trying to answer the question and move on and didn't really think about it. He's like oh yeah, like Millie is like younger than Superman, so like yeah, like I don't want to talk. I'm tired of like having to explain his parents in my movie. Let's just move on to the next question. But now I'm like, oh, maybe that is true. Like, yeah, she could possibly be born on Argo City after it separated from Krypton, and just had never ever met Clark,
It would
even when he was a
explain
baby.
why she's, so attached to crypto. She's never even really fully understood everything. But it's one of those things that I always found interesting. I'm like, how, because the trailers make it seem like she was there for Krypton's explosion, but maybe there's something different about that. I don't know. There's something interesting about that whole
Yeah,
thing.
it was just something that I had not really considered until today, rereading this. So, just might be something that we get like announced as like a confirmed detail when we get more story information on the movie in the coming month. They might say something like, "Oh yeah, like in our version, like she never met Clark as a baby on Krypton. She wasn't born until after he had left the planet." Um,
Yeah, I'm very curious to see exactly like if they're gonna use her original. Because that's the thing. I always forget that's her original thing. Because I'm so used to the newest versions of her things. Because ever since Jeff Loeb's Supergirl revival, because again she wasn't after the Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, there was a mandate for the newer versions there that Kryptonians weren't a thing. Like Superman was the last son. There was no crypto. There was no even Zod type of things. Like none of those people technically existed. Like they got away with it by making like the pocket version thing. Like, well, this is an alternate reality, and the Supergirl hero is not even a Supergirl. She's Matrix or whatever. She's like this weird Lana Lang thing that can transform into like different people if she wants to, type of thing. And then but then all that stuff got laxed as time went on, and somebody was like, well, what if we do a Supergirl story? And so they brought in Supergirl, and they finally brought back General Zod in all his glory in Last Sun and all that stuff. Like everything was reintroduced as like fast as possible,
mhm.
type of thing. And so it's easy to forget what the original origins of these characters are, especially because these are not origins that it's not like Spider-Man where the origins were like in the 60s and you can just go back. If you reread Spider-Man from the 60s onwards, it's actually not as difficult as it sounds, especially when I started reading it, which was like 20 years ago. But even 20, 30 years ago, if I started reading Superman from the moment I was born to now, I would still have some trouble catching up to Superman because it's been around since 1939, type of thing. Like I know it would be doable, don't get me wrong, but it's just not like it's harder to maintain 100 years worth of information versus
Yeah,
like 60 or 60 to 70 years. It's too much information.
yeah, it's something I think about a lot. Just like the older I get, all of the things that I follow just have so much more content. Like when I was a little kid, there were three Star Wars movies, and that was it. And now like there's a lot of Star Wars shit.
I was
Uh,
just talking to somebody about the Pokemon thing. When I was like 7 or 8, there was 150 Pokemon. Now
mhm.
there's like 1,000 something, and somebody's like, "What do you mean you don't remember all 1,000 Pokemon?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, I had a hard time with 250 when the next generation came out. I'm not doing this with you." So it's just media. It's insane. It's hard to keep up with everything. The MCU is a good example of it too, as well.
Yeah, but one of the cool things about comics is that you have to admit, like, okay, I'm not going to be a completionist who's going to be able to like read every story and memorize every little detail. So no matter how old you get, there's always so many fun things to go back and like, oh, look at like this cool comic from the 50s or 40s or 70s or whatever, and be like, man, there's like this all this stuff here that is so fascinating that I never heard about, or I heard about 10 years ago and forgot, and I get to rediscover it.
Exactly. Like I would love to be able to read the entirety of Superman from beginning to end, but I don't have the time. I don't have the money for something like that, and I definitely don't have the patience to only read Superman nonstop for
Um,
a year straight, probably.
I need to start promoting this podcast more, and then get patrons that will support us to just sit down and spend a year reading every Superman story from. We couldn't even do it in a year. We need like 10 years.
It would take a long time. There are people on Twitter who've mentioned it every now and then, where they're like, "I'm reading every Superman story," and I tried following one guy who's doing it for a while, and he did it for like a long ass time. And I think what he did was he was only going to read up until I think Crisis was what his original goal was, and I think he was about to hit it by the time I stopped using Twitter. Um, and yeah, it was a very very long time. It's just not it's not an easy thing to do, especially once you reach the time frame where there's 4 titles or 5 to 6 titles of something, and you're just like fuck. Like that's one of the reasons I had originally tried doing that with Spider-Man. I was like, I'm gonna reread all of Spider-Man. I started from issue 1, and I made it to like post symbiote, original post
Okay.
symbiote, because what happened was I was now reading Amazing, Spectacular, and then Web of, and then there was Marvel Team Up,
Oh.
and it was just like, okay, now I'm adding on. And the thing was, the reason I was doing it is I had a job where when I wasn't allowed to have a book in my hand, but I found somebody gave me a website where I could read comics online, and so I was reading them in between work, like, and it was the problem was it was fine when there was one tab, but then I had like 6 tabs, and my computer was going slow from reading comic books and not doing my job, so I had to stop. It was very funny.
They used to have this CD you could buy that had like the first 500. It was like a CD-ROM for PC, like they used to have back in the day. But it had like the first 500 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. But it was just
I
it didn't
wanted
have
that. Yeah.
it didn't
I
have
remember
anything
seeing it at
else.
half price books for years, and I had never got it. I really wanted to, and I never did. I should have. That would have been fun.
But yeah, I don't know what ended up happening to that, but I bought that at the time when I was in high school, and I had the X-Men one too. And I read like all the Claremont run of X-Men on my computer like that, and it had like it had scans of all the ads and everything. So um, I feel very well versed in decades and decades of American comics. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of easy ways of reading comics nowadays, and some that are easier than others, and some that are more expensive than others. I'm a big fan of physical, which is why I have 2 bookshelves worth of comics right now, and I need a third because there's a giant stack of them that are behind me that I can't fit on the current shelf. And so, I don't know if I told you this. No, I think I did. I tell you about the Spider-Man Superman thing that happened to me recently.
uh, what was it?
The Ed McGuinness cover thing.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that.
That my biggest first world problem that I've ever run into. I don't know if I told you this part. Okay, I'm going to tell you this part in case I
Okay,
didn't say it, but I'm going
go
to,
for it.
especially if I haven't told it to the on air. I remember how I ordered that Ed McGuinness cover. Well, it
Yeah.
turns out, I think I mentioned to you at the time, which is that if you buy it, it's actually like a loot box thing where if you buy it, it has a small percentage chance to come signed, and there's a 3% chance to get it signed by both Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness. unless you pay like 100 something bucks. I got the both sign version.
Oh,
It is what it told me. It says it's sending me the both sign version, and I'm
well,
like, I don't want the sign one. I wanted
congratulations.
a normal
Oh
cover
man,
so I could put
that's
them
not
next to each
something.
other.
Well, find out who got the other one. Who find out who got the just Ed McGuinness one and see if they'll trade with you.
I got both. It's like it's both signed by
Oh,
them. It's both Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness who signs it. It's a signature from both of them, and I'm just like, but I wanted a non-signed one so it could go next to my other non-signed one.
I see. Yeah.
And
Uh,
now I'm like, it's the biggest first world problem I've ever had. They're like, congratulations, you won the 3% chance of getting the ultimately like the most expensive version of this cover, and I'm like, I don't want that though. And it straight up says, well, there's no refunds or no returns. I'm like, well, I would seem like an idiot, like an asshole for doing that. So I might end up getting one of the other covers now and just hanging this one separately because it didn't occur to me that this was even a possibility.
well, it's kind of a interesting monkey paw situation, you
It
know.
was and I can't just order another one because they're like $30 a pop, and I'm like, because it's that loot box thing. It's like it's 35 to get another one. I'm like, I'm not going to spend 35 to maybe accidentally get another signed one because at that point I'm going to be that much more pissed off, and I don't want to spend another $30 on a single comic book. So I might end up buying the original cover after all, and just hanging them both next to each other and just having them begin to cover at this point. But okay. The other thing I thought about doing, I thought about buying a signed copy of the original cover, but I was like, that's like $160 for somebody to get the to get or George Jimenez to sign one, and I was like, I'm not doing that. It's too much. It's too much. But it is the biggest first world problem I've ever had. But
Yeah.
I wanted to mention though before we move on from the issue that this does in fact have the first appearance of one of my favorite Superman villains of all time, which is Metallo. And if you guys have never had a chance to read the Metallo origin issue as well, I highly recommend it. It's very
Yeah.
fun because it's about a man who got away, who thinks who's gotten away with murder essentially. He's very excited. He's reading a thing where it's like, well, the guy didn't wipe his fingerprints off of a murder weapon, and he's like, that's stupid. I definitely did that, so I don't have to worry about it. And then he gets into a car accident. Like he gets into he falls off like a cliff basically in his car, and a kindly scientist saves him, not knowing that he's a bad guy. He just saves him, and he's powered by uranium at first because you can easily get uranium at the corner store, like Doc Brown said, and and then he's like, well, there's another power source, and then before he can tell him, he has a stroke because there's another cave in, and the guy looks a lot like Superman but with a mustache, and it is John Corbin still, and then he goes on a crime spree to get uranium, and Lois mistakes him for Superman because he gets shot at and bullets fly off of him. It's a super fun issue because there's a lot of fun stuff going on in it, and by the time it's done, like eventually Corbin finds out about kryptonite, and then he only loses because of a dumb mistake because he thinks he's smarter than he actually is, and then it's my favorite part is the ending, which it turns out he was never as smart as he thought he was. Not just because he died because of a dumb mistake, but because it turns out he still would have been arrested because the cartridge that he loaded the gun with had his fingerprints on it as well. Super fun, highly recommended. I kind of buzzed past it just because it's not really the topic that we're discussing. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it is fun. This comic is a twofer. It's very rare. A twofer of two characters that have stood the test of time's first introduction.
Yeah, and I was also going to mention that, like Supergirl, I mean, not Deadshot, but he looks like Floyd Lawton with that mustache. But Metallo has been imagined and reimagined quite a few different ways over the decades, almost to like the same degree that I feel like Supergirl has. It's kind of
Yeah,
interesting to me. A lot of Superman's rogues gallery. I guess they've all like even Lex. He's famously been depicted in many different ways.
Yeah, he's either been a mad scientist, a scientist that was friends with Superboy who lost his hair and was pissed off about it, a businessman who was upset that Superman was fucking with the status quo, a version of him that's kind of both a businessman and a full-on mad scientist. You know, there's so many versions of him. The Mark Zuckerberg Lex as well, movie-wise
Yeah,
and stuff.
I
Like
guess that
you,
that's part of it. That's part of the character's history. That
Lex is very, very interesting in the fact that he's consistently different, and I think the version of Lex we have now, I think, is my favorite epitome of it, which is a businessman super scientist. It's he's like an evil what's his name Dr. Quest from Johnny Quest's dad.
yeah,
He's basically
yeah.
like an evil version of him, where he's just like, I could use my super science for the good of mankind, but fuck them. Is basically his thought process, and he's doing it all for the love of the money. And Superman just happens to be in his way.
Oh, speaking of Lex, though, you showed me that image that James Gunn put out of Lex's chessboard in prison.
Yes. So for people who don't know, today is 420 currently, but it turns out it's also the day Man of Tomorrow is not airing, is shooting.
There's yeah started work today on principal production of the movie.
Yeah, so they showed that chessboard off as well as a placard, the one that the sound placard they clack before
Yeah,
they start to make sure they can sync stuff in, and it has a symbol on it. If I don't know if you saw that because everybody's been sharing it, where it's the Superman symbol, but it's got like a Brainiac thing around it.
yeah, yeah. It was big on the socials today, but the three dots, which I think that was from Bruce Timm in the Superman the Animated Series, gave Brainiac the three dots as his logo.
I actually don't remember when that. I remember him having it in that, but I don't know if it ever existed prior to that.
I'm
But
very confident. I might be wrong. I'll look that up, but I'm very confident that's where it came from.
well, I know
Uh,
he always had like the dots on his head, but I think the three dots specifically
mhm.
was like only the three dots was him, because before it was like more of like a harness looking thing, because it was because this like the Super Friends one is a good indication of it, which is it was like one here and then like it was like five of them, technically five dots. But I think the three dots thing might be more of a an animated series invention
Because I
than
remember
anything else.
I didn't see anyone else use that so specifically until Smallville when they had as James Marsters as Brainiac. His like computer screens would have like the three circles with the lines.
I think the idea of it was the fact that Brainiac's head on from the front has the three dots in his
Hmm.
original stuff, and I think they just decided to focus on those three dots instead of the rest of it. Because I'm looking at some artwork from Challenge of the Super Friends, and it you can see when you're looking at him head on, you only see the three dots, but you can see like the outline of the dots right here on his sides, his temples. So it seems like I have a feeling that Bruce Timm looked at that and went, "What if it was only those three dots instead?" And then went from there, because that makes the most sense based on that. I have my knowledge of Brainiac is only up to a certain point, because I've always a lot of my Superman stuff has been working in reverse, because I started reading modern continuity and then reading backwards, so I've never fully known exactly what his head always looked like. But he always had like a lot of dots on his head. But yeah, the three dots seems to be more specifically that than anything else.
But yeah, I'm excited for the whatever they're gonna do with Brainiac in this movie. Like he's clearly going to be the main antagonist, and that's clearly I think it's obvious that's going to be the catalyst of the story that forces Clark and Lex to work together. And just like James Gunn writing and directing like the this version of Superman and this version of Lex and like this like kind of a buddy cop team up. It'll be kind of like the Wolverine and Deadpool of DC basically.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm wondering how much of it involves Salvation, or if Salvation's even gonna get brought up, or if maybe that's going to be a
Yeah.
later
Or if that's its
down
own
the line
thing.
type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know if he's building that to be like a big part of this movie or the next movie.
And there's rumors that he cast another character, but nobody knows who he's supposed to be. We just know that, or like at least according to what I found, was that like they casted another actor. I don't remember his name off the top of my head because I saw it randomly, and I don't. That's why I didn't, because it wasn't like on, it wasn't anything that I recognized, so I didn't like immediately be like, oh, what is this about, type of thing.
Yeah,
But
it's an interesting cast so far because like the Brainiac guy is that German actor that no one knew much about.
yeah, he's just like a lot of people just sort of pop up, and then the that's what I like about James Gunn is he doesn't like to just get big names. He understands something about the superhero movies that a lot of the other ones don't fully understand, is that you shouldn't always get the biggest names you can get your hands on, because just because it seems like a good idea at the time doesn't mean that audiences can't look past it. Because there's sometimes where, like, say for instance, they got Tom Cruise to be Brainiac. Your entire thought process is going to be like, well, that's Tom Cruise. Like, you're not going to be thinking about Brainiac. You're going to be like, well, that Tom Cruise plays a really good Brainiac or something, is what your thought process is. Kind of the way they're bringing Robert Downey Jr. back for Doctor Doom. I'm not going to get past that. I'm just going to be like, Robert Downey Jr. is playing a very interesting Doctor Doom. It's going to be my first thought. But I'm going to look at this guy, don't know his name that well, never seen him in anything else, and just be like, that dude's Brainiac. Same with like even the way Clark is, the actor for Clark. He's not exactly like, he was in a lot of smaller roles prior to this point.
Yeah,
One of the most
David
famous
Cornswet.
person, ironically, is the same thing that happened in Superman the movie almost, which is fucking
Yeah,
Jor-El and Lex are are the two biggest names in this. Although the person who plays Lois is also, she had a long running television show before that point. But like, I just find it really interesting, his choices. And in the Guardians, a lot of those people, they had prolific careers, but they weren't household names yet either, the same way. And I think that's gonna do wonders for this movie, and I'm very excited about that. And then there was the rumor that Maxima was cast as well.
yeah. The Puerto Rican actress who's also dating Jason Momoa. So maybe
Oh, I didn't realize that.
that's how she got introduced into the Gun DC universe. It was through Momoa, but I don't know. That's like unconfirmed if she's Maxima. I've seen some speculation online that maybe she's going to be Wonder Woman. Maybe they're going to introduce DCU Wonder Woman in this movie.
Yeah, there were people who were upset about the original reporting because they were like, well, I wanted her to be a Wonder Woman because they think she would have been a good Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And then there was the thing where the James Gunn had that statement where I think it was Variety or something. It was like, we've got confirmation that he's looking at 4 people for Maxima, and one of them was this actress, and he's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. None of that's true, is what he said, which also might lend to credence that
I
maybe
guess
she's
it
a
is
different character.
official. Yeah, I guess it is official that she is Maxima, though. Okay, so what do I know? But
Well, that's the
yeah,
thing, is it's like, did James Gunn also announce it, or is it only like Variety in them?
oh yeah, maybe oh, never mind. This is an old article. I thought it was new, but this is from 2 weeks ago. Uh,
Well, that's the thing. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
so
like, I've heard multiple things. I've only like James Gunn himself is never. Usually he comes out and goes, "Hey, by the way, this person's doing this thing or whatever," or he keeps it to his chest type of thing. So I'm curious to see if this might end up becoming one of those, or if maybe she is just Maxima type of thing. And if so, she's not a bad choice. It's just, I'm just curious to see what her role will be if it turns out to be the case. If that makes sense.
yeah, I'm not sure if I'm familiar with her work.
I've seen
Adria
her in a lot of random
Torres.
shit. She was in fucking Morbius, I think.
Well, I never saw Morbius.
And she's okay
uh,
at it. She's not bad. She had a
I guess
terrible script to work with.
yeah, I don't blame any actor in that movie. She was in the Belko Experiment, written by James Gunn, which I've also haven't seen, but maybe I
That might be
should.
part of how they met, maybe.
And the other new cast member, Andre Royo, that might be who you were talking about, but he worked with James Gunn in Super. I'm not
Oh,
sure who
okay.
he was in that, but
I'm not
somebody.
sure either. I haven't seen that movie in years,
It'd
but
be fun to go back and rewatch that now after now that James Gunn has like worked in like mainstream superheroes for so long. It might be fun to go see his original subversion of it.
yeah, I'm very. Yeah, that's so super bad. It's such an interesting. That was. I remember when they announced. I'm directing Guardians. That was a lot of people's first thought. It's like the guy who made Superbad is making a
Yeah.
Marvel
Or
film.
not super bad.
Or not
Super.
Superbad.
Yeah.
Super. Sorry, I said Superbad.
Well, they came out
Um,
around the same time.
that was the thing. That was one of the reasons I think it didn't do as well because people got it mixed up with something else. And it's a great film. It's a fucking wild ass film, but it's like it is a great film.
Yeah, Rainn Wilson. Oh, and
And
Elliot Page.
yeah, that was
Before
one of
they.
their more insane films they ever did.
Uh,
There's a lot of weird. Their death in that thing is wild.
yeah.
It's a crazy fucking film, but it's like, yeah, James Gunn, he is one of the most interesting writer directors out there, and I think Superman was the most he's ever played it safe, probably ever. Because even Guardians, I think, pushed it here and there, but Superman, it played it safe, but at the same time, it pushed a lot of things. Especially with that whole political stuff that was going on, and he's like, "Well, I swear it's not what that's about," and everybody's like, "Sure about that? Sure about that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's about other things," and you're like, "I don't buy that," but sure.
Sometimes James Gunn, and he said this about Man of Tomorrow. He's like, I love writing these two characters because I relate to both these men. I relate to Clark's desire to do good, and I relate to like Lex's ambitions, and yeah, so he's got like a little Lex in him, and sometimes James Gunn he's gonna be a troll. He's gonna be like the Lex drinking the coffee mug and then saying under his breath, "Ugly little dog in a red cape." He's gonna be that guy sometimes. So
I'm very excited. I'm especially because I know we were so many people worried. They're like, "Well, Man of Tomorrow is probably gonna get made because of failures and the sales of WB or whatever," and everyone who wants to buy WB has pretty much just said like, "Look, we are doing this thing. We're doing this thing. We're going to buy WB, but we aren't going to stop what's going on DC because this is clearly doing the best they've done in a very long time.
Yes,
we are just going to make a bunch of random ass movies per year, is what the current people are saying who are buying them out. So I'm curious to see what the hell that means."
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns about David Ellison, the CEO at Skydance Paramount, trying to buy Warner Brothers right now. But interesting, by the way, that this guy, he was supposed to go to Washington D.C. for the government hearings on this merger, and if they should approve it or not. Which, spoiler alert, they shouldn't. But
they shouldn't, but you know what's happening.
Well, yeah, we have a federal government that loves to accept bribes. Like when Trump said, like, I'm gonna sue CBS News, and they're like, no, don't sue us. We'll settle with you and give you all this money, and that's just them bribing him. But yeah, David Ellison was like, well, I can't go appear at these hearings because a death in the family. But then at the same time, he went and showed up at CinemaCon to promote, like, yeah, when Paramount and Warner Brothers merge, we're going to put out 30 movies a year, 15 from Paramount, 15
It's like,
from
what my family
Warner
would have wanted. It's like, what's happening over there?
I was like, bro, like, you had somewhere you were supposed to be today, I thought. But, he's a weird guy. I don't like him. But, yeah, the good news is that the success of DC right now, it does seem like they're very hands off. They're letting James Gunn cook. Like the comics are doing really well. The merch is doing, like, that's like the thing. Like, the movie didn't make like a ton of money, especially overseas, but it really did wonders rebranding DC for a lot of people.
Yeah, rehabilitate.
Yeah.
Not rehabilitate. Yeah, I think that's the word. Rehabilitated. That was the word I was looking for. Rehabilitated DC's image to everyone. So to both comic book fans, the general audiences. Nobody's ever talked this much about Superman in general audiences in years.
Since Christopher Reeve stopped being Superman, honestly.
Yeah, because every time Superman came up, one of two things was happening. Either people were like, well, I want my Superman to be dark and gritty or whatever because they grew up on Man of Steel, and they wanted it to be the super serious thing where he doesn't really care all that much type of thing. And then there were like the Injustice people. They're like, no, Superman should just be able to murder whenever he wants because I'm actually, he's just going to murder anybody on a whim. So nobody should trust that guy. He sucks. And they're like, all of these are bad representations of who this character is.
Yeah.
And then eventually, and unfortunately, the Superman and Lois, as much as I love Superman and Lois, it was at the end point of the CW. So a lot of people had given up
Yeah.
on the Arrowverse at this point, which sucks because that show I think would have done a great job at rehabilitating his image as well. But it did for some people, not everybody, but it did for like people like me and you, type of thing. And My Adventures with Superman did a great job of
So
that too.
fucking good. So
But people are really
anyone,
weird when it comes to animation, so that's part of
but
why nobody talked about that right away.
the people who do like well, not like your hardcore anime fans. The people that like, I don't know, soft anime, like show them My Adventures with Superman. They're gonna love it.
Yeah, I had a friend who didn't like it at all, but that's because he doesn't really like anime. And I was like, you know what, that's fair,
Yeah.
because it wears its anime influences on its sleeve so hard, and I loved it for that reason. But this movie, I've never seen people take to Superman so well in a very long time, and it makes me
Yeah.
very happy. And that's the biggest reason you shouldn't do anything to jeopardize that. And so we're gonna do that from then on.
Like I knew like several people who said like, yeah, like I never really thought Superman was that good of a character until I saw the James Gunn movie, and that,
My
that made me
girlfriend
think
has
maybe
watched
I'm wrong.
my girlfriend has watched that movie more than I have, which is fucking wild to say because she's a Batman person. She when we met, I told her like, well, Superman's my favorite DC character, and she thought I was crazy when I told her that. And then and I was like I think we got into a small argument about it the very first time because she's like, well, how can you like that character? And then I had to explain to her. I'm like, look, and then I explained my reasonings, and she eventually was like, okay, I kind of get it, but I'm still a Batman person at heart, which is fair. And then I showed her My Adventures with Superman, and then I showed her this movie, and she's like, okay, I kind of get it now. Like she's not fully on board, but she gets it 100% now. Is really what it comes down to. And that movie is one of her comfort movies, which again is wild.
It's such a watchable movie, and I love like the 2 hour runtime that just flies by, but you get like there's such like a depth of emotion. Like people said like the movie had like too big of a tonal range. I'm like, no, like it was perfect. It was like faster than a speeding bullet. It covered like so much. It made me cry, made me happy. Yeah, it's one of my anytime I watch that movie, I'm in like a good mood for like the next 5 hours after that. Just like nothing can get me down.
Yeah, it's the same thing that Superman the movie used to do for me. I remember, I don't remember if I told you this, when I was 22, 23, the Draft House in Slaughter Lane did a Superman the movie 35 millimeter screening. They had found a copy of it. It wasn't super great shape because I remember watching it and there was like some discolorization here and there, but it
Hmm.
was the best copy they could get at the time. And I remember I was having a shit month or something. I can't remember the specifics as to why, but I remember going to go watch that. I came out that movie grinning ear to ear to the point where I came into work the next day and they're like, I haven't seen you this happy in a while. Like you were just so ecstatic right now. They're like, what did you do? And I'm like, well, I watched Superman the movie actually on the big screen for the first time in 35 millimeter. And they're like, you should watch that movie whenever more often when you're down. I'm like, you know what? It never occurred to me that movie could do that to me because I used to do that with Spider-Man. I used to watch the Spider-Man movie to try to cheer myself up here and there. But with Superman the movie, with just the music, everything is just so perfect. And Superman 2025 is the same. It's just everything is just so perfect from beginning to end. Like the only thing that I have any qualms with, I'm still fine with, which is the Jor-El Lara reveal. And even then, I'm like, well, you got to get past it somehow, make it different, and he did, and in a way that wasn't really that offensive to me. I know some people were weird about it, but I think it worked out great. But goddamn, that movie's so good, and I've bought so many figures from that thing. I have like 5 figures from it now, and one of them is on accident, but I decided to keep it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the movie was great for the merch side of things. So
Yeah, and I bought the jacket. I don't remember if I ever showed you the jacket. I bought the hoodie that they made
you talked
around that
about you were
time.
going to get it.
It's awesome. It's one
I
of my
haven't
warmest
I
fucking
haven't seen
hoodies.
it, but
It's over here somewhere. I almost brought it when we were over there, but it's not great for rain because it's like a cloth, so it
yeah.
would have absorbed all that rain. But it's one of my warmest jackets, and I love it. It's one of my favorites. I have another one, but it's too big, and I already took the tag off, so I couldn't return it. So it's just in my closet right now. It's like huge, but it's wonderful. It's one of my favorite jackets I own. And then yeah, and I'm so excited to see if we get maybe a Superman game down the line or something. Like I know WB's in the process of being bought out, but this is the time to do it. You need to start making video games again based on your characters. Like Lego Batman's going on right now. So I know Superman Day did some stuff with DC Universe Online, which again, how in God's name is DC Universe Online still a thing?
It's
But
been
like
around for like 20 years at this point.
something like that. It's like I think it was 15. I think I saw something saying 15 years
Yeah.
of DC Universe Online. But they added an absolute Superman outfit to it. They added a bunch of other like Superman stuff to it. And I was just like, this is, but this thing that frustrates me, I'm like, this is our only Superman related game media that exists right now where you can, and you're not even playing Superman in it. Like, it's very frustrating in that sense. And so it's like, I want a game. Like, I want a Justice League game or a Superman game or a Flash game. Like anybody else besides Batman. Batman's getting a Lego Batman game soon. There's rumors he's getting another Batman game after that. But for the love of God, start making tie-in movie games again. I would buy one in a heartbeat if there was one based on the Superman movie
like a Man of Tomorrow movie.
Yeah.
That would have such replayability. It's like you can play story mode as Lex or as Super. You can be like in the power suit as Lex, flying around blasting stuff, or you can be Superman flying around punching stuff.
It would be great.
You could play just do it like it's like a 2-player co-op game. That would be awesome.
Exactly. Like I'm always amazed.
We could play it on co-op and live stream it.
Yeah, I'm always amazed that Justice League only got one Ultimate Alliance type game, and it ran like garbage on so many things. It's like, why didn't you? Like Marvel's Alliance got 3 of them, and there was the X-Men Legends ones. Like you could have done that with Justice League for like ever, and they just didn't. And it shocks me that that's a thing that just never happened.
Yeah, it's annoying that the Superman Shadow of Apocalypse game that you told me is really good. Like that's not available to play on anything, and the Justice League.
It was like Justice League Heroes, I think was the name of it.
Justice League Heroes, like that's not available on anything.
Yeah, it's not like backwards compatible or anything. Like the only game that you can still kind of get your hands on is the Superman Returns one, and that's like a 360 game.
Yeah.
And I have it somewhere around here, and there's just none of the DC games outside of DC Universe Online and all of a few of the Batman games, the Arkham trilogy at least. You can't play them. Like there's no, because this is the thing I'll give Marvel right now. Because Marvel is re-releasing games all the time. Like they just came out with the Maximum collection. They were doing Marvel Rivals. They did the re-release of what was it? Shit, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was another re-release. The Marvel vs. Capcom games. They were able to get all the Marvel vs. Capcom games re-released, and so you have access to all these Marvel games. Some I never thought I was going to have access to, like Maximum Carnage. But I would love a re-release that lets me play, the Death and Return of Superman, or like with some cheats on it, or fucking Batman the Animated Series, or even even Batman Forever. Fuck it, throw that motherfucker in there, type of thing. Like just re-release these games, and people would pay for them. And because there are no DC games that aren't just Batman related that you can get a hold of currently. Like I don't know, it always bothers me that that's not a thing. The DC is so weird about their other heroes, and there's so many like canceled stories of other characters, and the ones that do exist are pretty terrible. Like Aquaman, that one would be pretty bad. A crypto-based game. Yeah.
Yeah, Joel in the audience says crypto-based game would print money. Like I don't know, a lot of people like that game Stray, where you play as a cat. So yeah, give people the crypto game. But it was one of the promises of James Gunn, was that they were going to be working on video games. And he's a video game guy. He made that Lollipop Chainsaw game that I only played a demo of, but it seemed pretty solid.
Yeah, the original one's really good. The reason I say original is because there's a bunch of the music was removed from the re-release.
Oh, that is lame.
And so the original one is very much like, these are James Gunn's like choices in needle drops.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's still a decent game even in the remake or the remaster version, but it's like you're missing some of the funner needle drops that they weren't allowed to do. which is fine. You know, there's sometimes that you run into that. It's one of the reasons they didn't really release that game for so long. Um, so I'm hoping for more stuff. Like, cause yeah, you said James Gunn, he was like, I want everybody to be able to do all the things because he wants these actors to be able to do animation, movies, and video games if they come up. Like, I'm pretty sure their contracts are all saying that, but they probably just haven't. They probably haven't felt like they solidified the DCU yet to do that yet because game cycles are much longer than they used to be. Because back in the day, you could make a video game for like nothing in like a year, which is why there were so many superhero and movie tie-in games that were not always the bestly designed or bestly coded, but that's because they could do it in a year. Nowadays, that's a much trickier. So I could see them needing to make sure everything's solidified before looking at an idea, or maybe they're doing it now. Who knows? A lot of games take 3-4 years nowadays. Oh, that would be fun if that ended up happening.
Yeah, so maybe there's big stuff in the works, but it just hasn't been enough time to see any of it come out. But I don't know. That kind of sounds like wishful thinking. So we'll just wait and see.
Yep,
Um,
very true.
but I think that covers everything I had to mention today. Um, I think we were planning on doing like some more Supergirl stuff soon. Also maybe like some Lobo stuff to get ready for the new movie. So I'm thinking what makes sense to me. Let me run this by you. But
Well, the Spider-Man Superman's this week as well.
right, that comes out
It's this Wednesday, I think.
in 2 days. So we'll cover that. We'll cover that next week. And then I was thinking we can go. We can look at like whatever the next big Supergirl thing. Like after her first appearance, like maybe either like something like I don't know the origin story of Matrix Supergirl, or her 1984 movie. I guess that would be the next big thing. It would be the 84 movie.
Yeah, we have to do the movie.
So,
I know you're trying to skip the movie, but we got to do the
I'm not
movie.
trying to skip it. I'm just trying to push it a little closer to the new
To the
movie.
actual movie, okay.
Yeah,
We could do that. Well, we
but
can focus on the comic stuff, and then once we get past some of the big comic stuff, we could focus on the media from then on.
but
So the
yeah,
movie, the show, the version of her in Superman the animated series, that kind of thing.
yeah. I actually I really liked the Supergirl episodes, or at least a couple of them of Superman the animated series. I had rewatched those recently, and I'd love to talk about those. So yeah, and some big Lobo stuff too. I think we're both Lobo fans, so that'll be fun to talk about him.
Yeah, I'm very
So
excited for everything. It's just God, I'm trying to figure out whether or not I'm gonna buy one of those Lobo figures, but I'm gonna wait and see because I don't
yeah.
have a room for a motorcycle in this office.
But next week, more Superman Spider-Man team up. We read what DC. We kind of shit on Marvel a lot, so we're gonna see what Marvel's reaction to Superman Spider-Man will be when we get Spider-Man Superman in the next couple of days, and talk about that next week.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's just been such a fun time having these crossovers, and based on the fact that they seem to be releasing the stuff together, it seems like I think this might be the the last chunk they maybe do for a bit. So we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess on that note, we'll go ahead and sign off. But until next time, as always, keep it super, y'all.